What checks your boxes? This is a great question to ask yourself when you want to create more clarity. When it comes to our relationships that we have with people, any relationship of any kind, we have boxes that we need checked. We have needs, ways that people need to show up for us in order for us to really like that relationship, to really pay attention to that relationship, to really value that relationship. I notice this especially, of course, in our intimate relationships, but also our relationships with our friends. And a lot of times in life, we can be dating around and we can be shopping around for new friends, and we can do it blindly without really having a clear vision of what we really want. And I realized that it's actually extremely valuable to sit down and contemplate and create that clarity for yourself on what are things that you need to see in a person for you to be friends with them. What kind of individual is that? What kind of things do you need to see in your partner so that your needs are met? We can even split this into two categories where there's the minimum standard and then there's the 10 out of 10. If these boxes were checked, the 10 out of 10 boxes were checked, it would be amazing. But then there's the minimum standard where it's like, okay, these boxes need to be checked. Otherwise, we can't be friends or we can't be together because my needs aren't going to be fulfilled if you can't show up in these following ways. So I really want you to sit down and actually mind map. Create a mind map or a bullet list. I prefer mind maps. It allows the creativity flow a lot more. And contemplate what checks your boxes. And what's really interesting is that the way you can easily contemplate is by reflecting on experiences that you've had in your life. If you've been in relationships, what you liked in a relationship, and certainly what you don't like in relationships, what you don't want to see in people. So not only is it the good things that happen in our relationships with people, friends or intimate relationships, but also the bad things, when boxes are clearly not checked, they're very apparent as well. And having this clarity will just allow you to navigate through life, through reality, a lot faster, a lot more efficiently. And you'll save yourself a lot of headache, a lot of heartache, and a lot of suffering in general. So much suffering comes from putting up with people that we really don't need to put up with. I realize that we will put up with people because we become too enmeshed with individuals. We become too anchored with a certain friend group where we don't even want to leave because it's the devil we know. But when we can create this clarity for ourselves on like, okay, do these person check these boxes? And you can even think about what are even boxes that people can check where like if they check these boxes, like the red flag boxes, right? You can think of the green flag boxes, and the red flag boxes, right? What are the red flags that you see in people that will immediately wake you up to be like, oh, I gotta either set some serious boundaries with this person, keep them at arm's length, or completely let go of them. And a lot of times it's just to completely let go of that individual. And it's really interesting to see that, I've seen time and time again with various friendships I've had, and you start to notice patterns. And when you start to see one thing, you're like, oh, yeah, big red flag. He's not going to last long. It's really interesting to have that level of clarity. You can see things happen before they happen. And that's an incredible ability to cultivate. To have that vision. To be able to scan someone before, to be able to know someone even more than they know themselves, just having a couple interactions with them. Being able to ask the right questions. Being able to create situations that will really test whether or not they are up to snuff, good material, whether they are able to check your minimum standard of boxes. If we go through life not knowing what we want, then you're going to get something that's probably not going to be aligned with what you want. And this is with everything in life. It's not just our relationships, but how we see our environment, how clean your environment is, how orderly your environment is, how much money you make, how many hours you focus. Like, these are all really about standards that we set for ourselves in our lives. And in this episode today, I want to specifically focus on our relationships. What are certain standards that need to be met? Boxes that need to be checked. And what's really powerful about having this kind of penetrating clarity is that when it comes to an emotionally difficult decision to let go of a relationship, that clarity can give you the leverage required to really make a decision to set a boundary and respect yourself. Because otherwise, if we don't really have a Herculean amount of reason around our decisions, we will tend to go back on our decisions. We will tend to teeter-totter. We won't really be rock solid in each of our decisions of our lives. And I'm a firm believer of creating a Bible worth of backing in every single decision you make. Something that's aligned with your values, with what you decide that is good for you. Something that's aligned with your life purpose. Something aligned with high consciousness values. And that's really interesting. If you can actually choose to align yourself with these ideals, these high consciousness standards, ideals, you'll end up, even though you'll be making emotionally difficult decisions, right, you'll end up in a much better place because you've made the decision already to respect yourself. And if you can actually stick to these principles, and one of these ways of creating a principle is contemplating, what do you want to see in a relationship? How do people need to show up for you? What are your needs? How do they need to be filled? And what are things that people absolutely cannot do? Sit down. You know, you might know these like intuitively, but to explicitly lay them out, I'll guarantee you that it will create a newfound clarity that you've never had before. So with that, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.